Hey everybody, so welcome to House Calls, the podcast. Matt, how are you doing?
Ty, I'm well. How you doing?
I'm good. What have you been
Yeah.
doing this weekend?
We've had my nephews who are age 7 and 5 with us since Friday. It's only Sunday morning, but it feels like it's been a month. And they're great. Been doing a lot
Uh-huh.
of Legos, a
Uh-huh.
lot of football,
Okay.
and yeah, we've had a good time. I'm just
That's
not in shape. I'm just not in shape for little kids,
yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
But I've had fun.
Oh, that's awesome. So we went to Harper's Ferry yesterday
Aw.
to hike Harper's Ferry, kind of in like an
Okay.
empty nester adventure. Pretty cool. Like we hiked the Appalachian Trail, and then in Harper's Ferry, there's a ton of restaurants and things like
Right.
that to eat at.
Did you take any four-legged friends with you or
We did. We took Jesse James.
okay.
And
All
this
right.
guy came up to me at the visitor center and was like, "Can I pet your dog?" And I was like, "Sure. What's her name?" "Oh, it's Jesse James." And he was like, "You mean like the song?" And I was like confused. I was like, "What song are we talking about here?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I like bluegrass." And I'm like, "You not know that Jesse James is a famous outlaw? Like, have you ever seen the Brady Bunch?"
Yeah. I literally, as you said, I was like, "Is there a song that I don't know
Yep.
called Jesse James?" All right.
But I started thinking about New Year's resolutions,
Sure.
because of all the stuff we talk about with like wellness and fitness. I
Yep.
really think getting a walking habit is literally like the base of all fitness.
Yes.
The problem is a lot of people are like, okay, 2026, I'm going to turn my attention to getting healthy. And you're like, January 1st, it's cold, it's dark, you're worn out from the holidays. Like now is like the Goldilocks zone. The
Ah.
weather is perfect. So
Yep.
just start your habit now. Like you can't go outside and be like, "Oh, it's too hot, it's too cold." It's literally perfect walking
Right.
weather.
Right. No, that's good. Yeah. It's never too early to get starting a good habit.
So then reviewing the house calls email,
Yes.
we
Ugh.
got a we got a question, and first of all, I love that people are starting to come to us for
Yes.
the question, life's big questions. And this question, and I think you're going to think the answer is so obvious, but I think we need to look at our own bias.
Okay.
Is Hunter, who got viral famous from the sprinting challenge
I
and
remember
then
that one
also
well.
had an epic push-up challenge,
Yep.
asks who is a better musician, Bruce Springsteen or John Cougar Mellencamp?
Whoa.
And I think what I had to do was my first point was like, well, that's a crazy question. Of course, Springsteen is better. But then I kind of looked at my own life and my own biases and was like, I know nothing about John Cougar Mellencamp. Like I know Scarecrow and a couple
Right.
other albums, but I never bought one of his CDs. I'd never been to one of his concerts. Whereas Springsteen, what Born in the USA was one of my first CDs.
Yep.
What was your first CD?
I think before that was Men at Work.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. I
Yep.
think
And
I think
then
I got Born in the USA, Squeeze Greatest Hits, and Phil Collins' Hello, I Must Be Going on my 16th birthday when I got a CD player.
probably all because you had older siblings that had
Yep.
probably, took care of you.
So I
And
loved it.
yep.
So then I got Born to Run in Asbury Park.
Yep.
And then eventually I got his live album. And those were basically the CDs I had of his for a long time. But remember in 1984, did you go to the Springsteen concert?
Yes, I did.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We literally camped out for tickets in a mall parking lot.
Yes. So I was the only one who had my license.
That's right.
And I think maybe it was Friday night. We had to get up like
It's
a couple
86.
times
Yep.
to sign in on the list. And then
That's right.
Saturday night, we had to get up
Be there.
like Saturday night, we had to get up like every 2 hours. And then Sunday night, we had to spend the night.
You're absolutely right.
And
You're
it was
absolutely right.
such an epic memory. And then the concert was incredible. And the one thing I remember about the concert is our former guest, Brian Klepper.
Yes.
He and Eric, I guess when it was time to go, they walked the wrong way around RFK.
Yes, they did.
So we took a bus with older people. And on that was Brian's aunt, who's about 6 years older than him, his
Yep.
Aunt Megan. And Eric and Brian aren't showing up to the bus. Megan's freaking out. And I remember just thinking, like, what is she worried about? They're fine. Not, now I'm like, they were 14 years old walking around RFK. Of course she'd be freaking out. But at the time I was like, I didn't get it.
Yeah, no. Same thing. We camped out. We got 6 tickets, and I think to make it work, my mom sent my aunt with us into the concert,
Okay.
into the show. But, yeah, we all made it home alive. But back to the question,
Uh-huh.
I gotta go Springsteen over John Cougar Mellencamp, and just because more prolific, better, I think, showman, um, yeah, I'm very biased. I love the
So
boss.
here's where I'm recognizing my bias is I have those albums.
Yep,
Then I saw him at that concert, which was an incredible childhood
yep,
memory.
yep,
Then I went to the Ghost of Tom Joad concert, a very romantic,
yep,
acoustic version, just me and my partner Klepper,
yep.
and
Medical
yeah,
partner.
medical partner.
Okay.
Then I saw him again at where do the Commanders play now?
FedEx.
I saw him again at FedEx, with my wife, Klepper, and Jennifer Klepper,
Mhm.
and so I've seen him all these times. I was like, for me to give a honest answer, I have to now listen to every John Mellencamp, John Cougar album. So that's what I did. I've started that project today, and then we will get back to Hunter with my prediction is I think I'm gonna say Springsteen, but
Yep.
but I how can I say Springsteen without listening to all the albums? Because it could be that I'm like, "Oh my god, I love John Cougar," and whatever reason for business-wise or promotion-wise or whatever, he just never made it quite as big. Now, obviously, he's
Right.
big,
But
but he's not Springsteen big.
but Cougar, uh, or Mellencamp as it is,
What do you call him? Cougar or Mellencamp?
John.
Okay.
He gets upset when I call him campy and
Yeah.
stuff. But anyhow, first off, he's like stopped years ago and just became like literally an artist, like a painter.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he's developed everything. And every time I see him, I don't understand how he's still alive because he's always ripping cigarettes
Yeah.
all the time.
He is, yes.
But he was slowly, he married Stephanie Seymour. Was that her name? Or was that Victoria's Secret's model?
I thought
Uh,
that was Axl Rose who married her.
Maybe they're the same.
This
I
is
don't know.
why we need a fact check.
We do. We totally do. We totally do. But anyhow, I'm a big fan of John Cougar Mellencamp's, but I would think toe to toe, the boss.
So, at the US Open, I was watching the US Open and loves watching tennis, and I always get a little bit annoyed when they show the celebrities, like, I
Yes.
it's not that I don't wanna see the stands, I do, but I wanna see the coach. I love seeing, like, the little sister nervous or the big
Yep.
brother nervous or the husband and the kids, or the wife, and they always show celebrities. I'm like, "I don't care that the celebrity's there," but, uh, Springsteen was in the stands, and Courtney Cox, who got her start kind of in the Dance in the Dark video
Yep.
on MTV when MTV used to play music, she came up to say hi to him, and he did not stand up to greet her. He stayed sitting down, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, your dad would
Oh,
definitely say John Cougar Mellencamp's a better
yeah.
musician." He would not
100%.
accept that.
No, no. He right now he's asked me to see if there's a filter to get to remove your hat
I know, I
because
know.
you're inside.
So
Yeah, no,
once
he would
again, I
not.
just finished working out, and I
We
had to
get
put
it.
the hat
We
on.
get it. We
Yeah.
get it.
I think what I'm gonna do is I need an outdoor studio.
Oh, but that would there you
That
go.
would be the solution.
That would be great. Um,
So today we have Mitch Hook on, and we're talking
yes.
technology.
Yeah. Because and I think it's gonna be great for you. It's gonna be eye opening for you. Technology is here to stay. I don't know if I know you don't believe that, but it's always good to have somebody to kind of tell us what's out there and where it's going.
I am, well, I don't even know what you would call it, but I think the best example of this is when I applied to residency. You have to go to all these interviews, and I'm at the
Yep.
University of Texas in Galveston, and I'm interviewing with Bill Phillips. And I was definitely in medicine, kind of like the learn the textbook guy. Like, I want to know what we're doing now
Right.
and become an expert at that. I don't need to worry about, I'll worry about 5 years from now, 5 years from now. But he asked me
Yep.
a question, and he was like, uh, what do you think is going to be the oncoming like technology in orthopedics? Question totally threw me off because I'd never thought of that. I'm like, I just want to learn orthopedics. I don't know what the next technology is going to
Right.
be. So my answer was honestly, I grew up in the 70s watching the $6 Million Man, and now it's 1996, and we still don't have bionics. I'm incredibly disappointed in the whole field. And he thought it was hilarious. And I really think that helped me. It's called the match where you get in a place,
Yep.
and I think that really helped me get in. But I think that is my conundrum is that the right word? With technology is like I have a tendency to be resistant to some tech, especially like computers annoy me and that kind of stuff. But partly it's because they don't do enough. So it's like I'm not the first to jump on the new, but I am the person to be like, why can't this do this? Like
Yeah.
why aren't we to that point yet? So it's like why aren't we to the point where you have bionics? Now I know it. I know why that is. It's a difficult thing to do, but I'm
Okay.
constantly like that with technology where like I resist learning it, I learn it, and then I'm like, oh, this should be so much better.
Yeah, no, that's you. But that's been you since day one,
Yeah.
and I've always respected that. Technology has advanced tremendously, but it's never been enough for you.
Well,
And I think it's out there, but you have to do a little homework, right?
you
You got
do.
to kind of
Yeah.
find out what's out there,
Yeah.
and it's hard. And I think it's hard if you're not in a tech driven business or tech driven society, or it's your everyday to kind of keep up with it and figure out what's out there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you have kids and that'll keep you up to date. But yeah, I think they've given up on you as well.
And this usually when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, let's read something. So I either read something or watch a video. And this morning I was watching videos on like the philosophers. So I like reading or watching a video on like Plato or Aristotle
Yep.
or Marcus Aurelius or philosophers or religious figures. And I'm like, I am literally using technology because I'm searching YouTube for the videos. I'm reading on my Kindle. I'm like, I use technology all the time.
You do. You do. But again, as you said, you're the last one on the bus, Um, but those ones of Marcus Aurelius and those other people you just mentioned, is that podcast with them? Or is that were they taking selfies? I
So we're
mean,
trying to
how are you finding their videos?
I want to have Marcus Aurelius on the
We should.
podcast. So maybe we should ask Mitch how we get an AI version of Marcus Aurelius on the
Oh, it has to
podcast.
be AI. Well, I don't understand
Yeah.
why he doesn't have his own website. We should probably reach out to him.
So our other challenge we need to talk about is we've been talking a lot about the weighted vest.
Yes.
So I did the first house calls medical study,
Yep.
case of one,
Sponsored. Yep.
sponsored one. So what I did was Ann and I hiked about a 3-mile trail with our weighted vests on, and I took my data, and I'm going to actually pull it out, so I'm not doing it from memory. And then a week later, I ran the trail, um, the exact same trail. So with
Without
the
the
weighted
vest.
vest, it was 3 miles. Did it in 59 minutes. Mine's a 25-pound vest. Ann's is a 16-pound vest. My heart rate was 119 beats per minute. So that's
Okay.
pretty good, right? And I burned 522 total calories.
Okay.
It was fun. We were able to talk. We solved all the world's problems. Um, no injury risk. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of leaves on the trail right now, so you could step on a root, but not really too dangerous. Took the dogs. Dogs had a great time. Okay.
Okay.
Then I ran the exact same trail. So that was 3 miles in 40 minutes.
Okay.
Um, when you're running the trail, you can't really get going that
No.
much. I mean, you're
No.
dodging
Yep.
rocks, you're
Crossing your
dodging
feet.
roots
Yeah.
and stuff. And one of the things I think is great about running for people our age is that you're changing your cadence, basically to not fall. You're taking long steps, short steps to the right, to the left.
Yep.
And I do think it helps some of the beating that our body takes if you're just cruising on a straight
Yep.
3-mile run. Um, my total calories was 571, so still up in the 500s. My heart rate was 151, which was pretty high. But I almost killed myself. I almost sprained my ankle several times. If I broke my wrist, I was like, all right, slow down because you break your wrist, can't work with what I do. Um, I was very sore the next day versus like when I did the
Right.
weighted vest, I wasn't sore at all. So I was sore the next day. The dog still had a great time.
So either one's a great one for the dogs. That's what you
Either
take
one's
away
a
from
great
this.
one for the dogs, but I think the take home message is I was impressed at what a good workout the weighted vest
Yeah.
was compared to running. And that's not something I would have told you 25 years ago. Like if you went out for a walk, I would have been like, Matt, you're not doing anything. You have to
Right.
go out for a run.
I would be interesting to see the numbers. So I'd like you to do it one more time.
Uh-huh.
Just walk.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I think I'm going to do a walk and then I'm going to do a 3-mile road run
Okay.
and then compare all those numbers.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're
I
giving
think
me a
that'd be
lot of
great.
homework.
Well, I mean, you gotta start pulling your weight around here. You're not doing much, okay? I mean, sure, you're the face. I mean, great face. You look gorgeous, but no, we really need a little bit more out of you. That's what people in the back office are saying.
Okay. So we're excited to have Mitch Hook on
Yeah, let's talk to Mitch,
because
talk
he
about
knows a lot about
technology.
technology.
I hope so. I hope he even knows how to log on. So we'll find out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to an all new episode of House Calls, the podcast. Today, Ty and I are talking with the one, the only Mitchell Hook to talk about technology. What's going on? Where is it headed? And how can you teach old people like Ty how to make better use of it? Ty, are you ready for this? I mean, this is going to be a lot for you.
I am ready. I can tell you every time I log on, I'm always a little bit anxious that like my headphones aren't going to work, my microphone's not going to work, and luckily we logged on without any problems on our part. But our tech guy took a little time to log on.
That was
So,
scary.
are we talking to
Yeah.
the right guy?
I don't know. I don't know. You
Well,
know
so
what?
that's I don't do a lot of FaceTiming podcast, but one of the things I do is fix things in real time where I've never done it before. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm good at this job is that half the time I show up to a place I've literally never done what they're asking me to do. And I'm figuring out in real time as I'm doing it because there's just so much tech out there. There's no possible way that you could understand and know how to set up and install everything. It's just not possible.
All right. Well, I don't want to say anything, but we did on the history of the corn roast lacrosse game. We did have Mitch's dad on, Rick, and not a problem. I'm just going to leave it there.
Uh, Mitch, I don't know if you listened to the one with Chuck Baldecki, but he talked about the importance of a liberal arts education, even in the tech world, and you just basically summed it up. He basically was like, you have to learn how to think. You need to learn how to problem solve because technology is constantly changing. And literally, you just said that. You're like, you hadn't used this app before, but you have the basic knowledge and you thought your way through it.
Yeah, and of course, it always seems that there's always roadblocks that are thrown in your way whenever you need to do something right away, or there's an appointment, or you're supposed to be somewhere, and you're relying on your app, your tech. That's always, when the thing starts not working, bugs up, doesn't open, crashes. Like my entire Gmail wouldn't open. It's like
But
literally just
my,
decided
yeah,
is didn't want to open. I restarted the iPad, still didn't want to open. I was like,
yeah.
okay, gotta figure out another way to get this link in.
So
But
is that
yeah,
the way, the majority of things are fixed? Is this through the reboot?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one way that the first thing I do every time I go anywhere is restart things. And sadly, that does fix, 7 out of 10 problems.
Right.
And a lot of times I'm kind of like, okay, what else can I do here to make the person not feel like a complete idiot that all I did was, drive 40 minutes to their house to restart their computer. That does happen a lot. I won't lie. So the first thing that I say to some people when they ask for problems is like, have you restarted? Like, have you restarted? And literally 9 out of 10 times people are like, no, I haven't done that. So that is the number first thing that you always do.
So, so Mitch, your job now is you are basically tech support for homes, businesses,
Yeah. So
for
I'm like
people. Yep.
on-site tech support.
Yep.
I work for a company out in California called Hello Tech. I've been working with them since 2016. What they are is basically just sends me leads on a regular basis, and they come across my phone. I can say, yes, I can do this, or no, I can't do this based on either time, parameters, or skills. Sometimes they send stuff where I'm like, no, I don't have a 40-foot ladder, and I'm not going up the side of your house to put that light on. So there's certain things that I've stopped doing as I gotten older, and one of those is going like really high up, on ladders because that's just not worth it.
Right. Right. So, I mean, I'm laughing at Ty trying to jump in. So so, I mean, you've been doing this kind of stuff since high school, or if not
Actually,
before.
the my earliest memory is coding in like first or second grade at
Wow.
St. Paul's. They basically stuck us on.
Explain coding to Ty.
I mean, it was really basic. We were basically writing programs to make a triangle move around the screen and leave a line behind it, take a right turn, go down this many pixels, take a left turn, go down, take a right turn, et cetera, et cetera. But it really just kind of demystified tech by having started at such an early age. Nothing really scares me as far as tech because I understand that you really can't break anything. I think one of the biggest problems I run into with the older generation is that they were all raised on tech, where if you didn't know how to use technology, you stay the hell away from it because it'll take your finger, it'll take your arm, it could kill you. I mean, the technology that the large majority of our parents and grandparents grew up on was very dangerous. They didn't have computers, they didn't have anything that you could just fiddle with. And not really have an issue. And I think that's one of their biggest problems. They're really afraid to mess with, kind of fiddle with their technology because in the back of their brain, they can remember their parents telling them not to mess with things that they don't understand how to mess with. So I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks for the older generation is that you really can't screw anything up that bad. I mean, it's better to dive in and start monkeying with your settings and changing things around and figuring out yourself rather than to rely on someone else. I mean, someone else can always come in over and help you if you screw something up. You can always fix it. You can always bring it back to where it was. You can always restart it, reboot it, reinstall the operating system. It's never too late to fix it. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. So they just kind of give up ahead of time and say, I can't do this. Let me get someone else who can.
So Mitch, it's funny you said that because we still have a little bit of a medical sideshow going here. And as a hand surgeon, you're right. Like the tech, like hand surgery has changed because of tech. Like back in the day when I was in my training, it was a lot of amputations, cut hands, putting fingers back on, that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
now because of tech, a lot of the injuries are more overuse injuries because of your hands and a lot of tech neck where you're
Yeah,
bent
the
over a
bending
screen or an
down,
iPad all the
the
time.
and the angle of your arm, like if you're typing like this, you're typing like this, you've got
Yeah.
those tendons that are crossing. So every time you go like that, all those tendons are kind of going on an angle, creating friction. And a lot of people don't have their arms straight when they're typing. They don't have that kind of clean angle,
Yeah,
which
I
is
have
really
this
important.
conversation in the office every day. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy. So when you were in school, I always imagined people who got into tech got there from video games, but did that have any role in your getting interest in computers?
Oh yeah, I mean, video games were definitely a big part. Nintendo, early PC games. I was the person who knew how to set up the computer, fix the computer from my earliest memory. So I think it just kind of got you get stuck with it. Be careful being the tech guy in the family because you will get assigned that job really quick to
Sure.
fix everyone's stuff. But yeah, I mean the technology with PCs definitely because games don't really work all the time with the PC. You put them on the PC and you hope that they're going to work. Hold on a second. You hope they're going to work, but a lot of times you actually have to go into the PC and start monkeying with the settings and change the graphic settings, change the drivers, change all kinds of things within the PC to get it to work. So that kind of was one of my early experiences with just messing with PCs and figuring out, how they work, building PCs for video games, that type of thing. So, and
Now,
once you do it, it's really,
like where you're academically, when you're looking back to maybe people who didn't get as into computers and tech versus people who did you notice a certain skill set that you had? Was it math and science? Was it just problem solving? Like, did you have strengths versus weaknesses?
I think it was the problem solving, the
Uh-huh.
math and science. In fact, it was funny because I actually tried to get into high level programming in college, and come to find out that I actually missed a bunch of math classes in high school that were the advanced math classes. And they're like, if you want to go into programming in college, you have to take these advanced math classes. So I started taking them and realized that I'm really good working with tech. I'm not necessarily good on the math side. The math side is really complicated. I mean, it's like theoretical math. It's just doesn't really make sense logically when you try to you just have basic math skills. So yeah, so it definitely wasn't math. It wasn't science. It was definitely the problem solving. Early on in high school, I got on the newspaper doing graphic design, and we would actually publish a newspaper on Macs that we would send out and actually get printed. I think we won the some famous Columbian Pen Award or something, but that was one of my first, uses of computers. We're actually doing it for a job. We're actually producing something and able to make things work. And then having all that skill in computers before that, I was kind of the person that could figure out why it wasn't working, why it wasn't printing, why this thing was over printing or under printing, or why this font in the corner kept blowing up out of proportion and coming off the page, stuff like that. So I think it just comes naturally. If you're good at problem solving, I think that would be something you would really jump into.
The if you were born 100 years ago w- with your
You'd be
problem
dead.
solving, have you ever thought about this? If there were no computers, what do you think you would have fallen into?
Probably like blacksmithing.
Uh-huh.
So you
I
have
mean,
thought
that's the
about this.
original
Yeah.
tech,
Yeah.
Yeah.
build stuff, fix stuff. So,
Do you blacksmith at all now, like on the side? I
no, but
mean,
my
do you?
son actually wants to get a forge.
Okay.
So
Oh, that'd
that's
be
why it
cool.
actually popped in
Well,
my head.
got it.
So he's
Okay.
into that stuff. He's huge into fishing and stuff like that. And he was watching, I guess, a blacksmithing show on TV with his granddad, where they like actually it's like Master Chef, but with like making knives, I guess. And
Oh,
it's
it's
like a
called
competitive
the
type
Kevin
thing.
Carlton experience.
Yeah. Uh, I got a question about patience because I think that's one thing that happens with people who are older, and even myself who get impatient with tech. And I have probably thrown a computer across the room before. Um,
Sure.
were you blessed with patience, or is it the opposite where you're just so accustomed to it that you are going to problem solve and you don't get frustrated? So kind of like if you
No.
were doing any job, if you're good at it, you're going to be more confident versus if you're not good at it, you're going to be less patient.
So yeah, you definitely have to be patient. I think the worst thing is when you don't know what you're doing, you're not figuring it out, everything isn't going correctly, and the client likes to stand there and stare at you. That's the worst. You're like literally, you can like feel the sweat dripping on the back of your neck because you're literally not fixing it. You're confused. It's not working. Whatever it is you've told the technology to do, it's not doing. The person's gotten you all the way out here to fix it, and then they like to sit there and stare at you. It's just it's really weird. Some people are, I guess that's what they do. Like if you have a plumber in the house, you stare at the plumber when he's
Right.
fixing your dishwasher.
Uh-huh.
So two types of people.
Mitch, when you're getting to those situations where you can't figure out, do you have a mentor you lean on? Do you YouTube it? Like, is
Yeah,
there a
it's
forum that where you
literally
go to get
YouTube and
advice?
Google.
Yeah,
Literally YouTube and Google. I think one of the reasons I've gotten really good at this or been really good at this is that I can Google things really quick, and I can ignore the extra stuff that you're not looking for, and can drill down to the point that you're trying to find in some random Reddit subreddit where two people are talking about the exact same issue that you're dealing with, and the person's like, "I fixed it, and here's the solution," and you're
right.
like, "All right, there it is," and then you plug that in. So I think that is part of it because, like I said, there's no possible way you could have all the scientific knowledge, all the technology in your head. It's like as a doctor, you specialize, but even as a specialist, you have to sometimes go back to, you know, the books. You can't hold all that data in your head. So it's literally impossible. But I'll tell you this: when you get impatient and the client's staring at you, and you can feel like your forehead starting to get sweaty, always find a reason to go outside to your car. I need to go outside to my car to get X, Y, and Z. But some people just they I don't think they realize that like it can be nerve-wracking having people stare at you when you're trying to figure something out. It's definitely an experience where you're like sitting there like on their computer trying to figure something out, and they're just like literally sometimes like this close to you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've often asked Ty if he'll take me into the operating room, and he will not do that because he gets too nervous when I'm around him when he's operating.
You
So I
know,
mean,
it
were you
it's
guys nervous when you first started doing these podcasts? Was it
No,
awkward or nervous in the beginning at all?
no, because
well,
I
you
mean, I'm
know,
serious because hey, we talk to people that we already know, and I feel
yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
just talking to Ty. So no, for me.
My nervous was the technology of like, were we going to be embarrassed because I couldn't log on? And the very, very
Well,
first
like me today.
podcast, Matt surprised me with not wearing a shirt when he logged on. So I was like, the ice was broken from that moment on.
Uh, you're like, what? We have video? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't
So
know.
Mitch, where did you go to college? What did you major in? And was tech something you were doing on the side, or was that your main major?
Yeah, so I went to Towson University, and majored in, I guess it was like computer tech and design. So
Okay.
the big thing going on there when I showed up, we just got a brand new computer lab, and there was a huge, big focus on Macs, graphic design, and just technology in general. And I knew that tech was kind of my strong suit. Not that I'm not good at graphics, but I would finish up the graphic design assignment in the class, and then the teacher had me basically going around to student and helping them with the technical side of like they couldn't figure out how to do the assignment on the computer in the app. They didn't understand variable, why this variable did this or why did that. So that was probably one of my first examples of realizing that I was good with helping people and good with figuring things out quickly. So I think that's kind of where, what led me to where I am now.
So speaking of education, because I have a certain opinion, and I think maybe yours is different, but you always hear about like funding for schools, like we need more computer labs, we need these things, and I definitely agree because it keeps kids interested. But sometimes I'm like you said before, you need to learn how to think, so you need to start with reading, writing,
Yeah.
math. You need to start with the basics, public speaking, learning how to think, and sometimes I think that maybe we had a generation where we started focusing too much on tech and graphics and all this kind of stuff, whereas you learned all this stuff kind of after you learned all the basics of thinking.
It was kind of on
Do you
top of
think about
everything.
that at
Yeah.
all, especially with your kids' education?
Yeah, definitely. As a tech person, I'm definitely leaning more towards like kind of anti-tech with kids,
Uh-huh.
specifically trying to control it. I mean, I did my best to control tech with my kids, and I was still an abject failure. And I'm a tech guy, and
Uh-huh.
it's just like they're better than you. Like the kids, they figure out ways around it. They figure out how to get out from under it. They figure out how they no matter what you do, no matter how many times I've set up the screen time parameters, no matter how many times I've gone in and set the router, there's always some gap somewhere somehow. So ultimately, I think your biggest thing you want to do is teach your kids how to handle all the tech, because you're not going to stop them from getting access to it. That's just not going to happen. And you should try. You should most definitely try when, especially when they're younger, when they're under 15, under 10. I've got locks on my router. I've got locks on my phone. I've got locks on. What are you doing? Get out of here. I've got
Not on your
I've
cat.
done yeah, I've done almost everything that I can do. I'm especially with the router. So a lot of people don't know is that you can go into your router and you can set up where it'll actually block ads on your TVs.
Wait a second.
What's a
Question from
router?
doctor. What's a router?
Okay,
Here we go.
so you know the thing that you pay Verizon or Comcast for that sits in some random room in your house?
Yes.
The
Is that
box
what
that
it
All
has
is?
the
right.
light on it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so sometimes the router and the Wi-Fi are the same thing, and sometimes it's just a router and then you have a separate Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Verizon's router and Wi-Fi is combined together, but I have an actual separate mesh router from Eero, which basically allows me to kind of go in and see the individual devices that are on my network. And I can pause them. I can give them time restrictions. I can give them restrictions on websites. I can tell the router that this person is, 15 years old and set its web browsing capabilities, to that, so that it'll basically go out to a universal database of like, pornography and bad websites that are out there. And then it'll use that database to basically block all those websites on your router so that anyone that's on that router in your house can't get to them through that router. But again, now they've got a cell phone. So like they just turn off the Wi-Fi and they can go to it anyway. So then you got to go into the Apple side and you got to block all the things on the Apple side to make sure that that they can't get access to all the just infinitely amount of gross nasty shit that's on the internet that kids have no business looking at. And so it's like then you block it on the Apple side, but then the Apple side for some reason stops working. It like resets itself and you go in and you're like, oh, wait a minute, all these things that I did are no longer in there. So it's incredibly frustrating. A lot of parents have been struggling with Apple and other companies to get better tools to do this. But I mean, you definitely want to do everything you can.
Sure.
But
So
but the
get
kids,
into
you know,
the philosophy of house calls. Is it better to get a tech person involved, teach you how to set up all these parameters to control social media and all those different things? Or is it better to spend all your efforts teaching your kids, like informing them, be like, this stuff's out there. This is why it's harmful to you.
well,
And you
yeah, you
need to make
definitely have to
smart
do both.
choices.
But the problem is, Ty, is that the kids, when they're under a certain age, you can't explain. It's not appropriate to explain to them, and it's
Yeah.
not appropriate for
No
them to
frontal
have
lobe.
access.
Yeah.
Period. I
Yeah.
mean, when the kids are 7 and above, you got to start talking to them because they're going to school. Other kids whose parents have made no effort to control this stuff, they've got a cell phone. They're 8 years old. The cell phone's completely unlocked and can go anywhere on the internet. So no matter what you do on your side of the equation, unless you want to like stick your kids in a box in the house and never let them go outside, which is obviously not something you're going to do, you can't really control all the parameters. So you do have to start teaching them, as at an early age, because there's just no way to stop it. That's one of the problems with the internet. It's
Yep.
like a flood of information.
And it's not
So
going back, right? The
yeah.
horses are out, so, I mean, you can't get them back in. But
Well,
how
they actually are trying to do it right now. 32 states in this country have instituted age verification laws,
hmm,
which is like, hey, it's a pain in the ass for adults, but I don't,
small
it
price to
is what
pay.
it is.
But
Both
can't
my
you
kids'
lie on
schools,
the age verification? Like, if it says you must
no.
be 18, can't you be like, "Yeah, I'm
No,
19."
because they're actually using like ID verification. You have to like
Oh,
upload your actual ID to the thing. It's like a
okay.
legal thing through the government. But then there's VPNs, which is a virtual private network, which has been around forever. And that basically allows you to create a secure connection to a computer somewhere else in the world. And then that computer basically is what the internet sees. So if you're in Texas and it's got age verification laws and you get a VPN, it just tells the internet that you're now in New York, and which doesn't have the laws. So, and this is the
Okay.
type of thing that 10, 11, 12 year olds already know about from playing video games and other stuff. So it's not like you said, the cat's out of the bag.
Mitch, so we got all of this going on. What's your fear or what's your understanding of AI and how that's going to, affect,
That
everyday
is
life?
that's such a and the kids are using it so much.
Right.
I mean,
I just heard a story over the weekend of a friend of mine whose son works for an investment bank, and they were
yeah,
interviewing a possible candidate, and it was a series of interviews. So the kid had 8 interviews in a row. So my
sure.
friend was like number 4, and he was getting emails going, "Hey, when you talk to Joe, watch his eyes." And they were watching him, and what they figured out is that the kid was like via Zoom, so the
Yeah.
guy had it on his computer, but next to his computer, he must have had a phone or an iPad. And
Yeah, yeah.
so a person would ask them the question and he would pause and he'd wait for AI to answer it. And then he would read the response
Yeah.
from AI
Yeah.
because they
Yeah,
could see
that's
it. And then
nuts.
they were like,
Oh, you
try
mean like
mumble.
cheating on the
Yeah.
interview?
Cheating on the
Okay.
Yeah.
interview. So people would be
Okay.
like, hey, just mumble your next question and see what happens. And the guy would be like, so, when the stocks prices are down or something. And the guy would be like, I'm sorry, could you please repeat that just so the AI could hear it better?
So
It
AI
was,
can hear it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
crazy, crazy.
Yeah, the AI to me, AI is good and bad. I've used AI multiple times for some really good stuff. I got rear-ended in a car accident, and it walked me through all the steps of what I need to do, and not do not contact your insurance because no reason to involve your insurance. It walked me through getting diminished value check from their insurance after the fact because the car was pretty new. None of these things that I would have done. I would have immediately contacted my insurance and gotten them involved, which would probably raise my rates. So that was great. But AI on the bad side, it's taking people's ability to think away, especially these kids. Like you were talking about, Ty. The most important thing I think you get from a college education and a good education is the ability to keep learning and to understand and to seek out information and figure it out. And I feel like that's what's made me good at tech. And with AI, it's like taking that thinking away from them. These kids, they're not doing the hard work. They're taking something that's given to them, they put in an AI, it spits out, then they rewrite it a few times, put it back in the AI, it spits out, you know, and it's like, is that good or bad? I don't know. Old people used to think that was what Google was for my generation. The fact that I was Googling and getting information was cheating. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So is AI just the Google of this generation?
It feels like this is cheating because, like you said, I needed an answer and I went to Google. That's fine. Uh,
Yeah,
as
but Google
opposed,
didn't hallucinate. I
right,
don't know if you guys have encountered this, but I was. This is a stupid example, but I was in a beer store and there was a wall of beer, and I was like, I have no idea what to get. So I took a picture of it and I uploaded it to AI and said, "Hey, pick 5 beers out of this wall that have won some awards recently, and tell me what they are." So then it gave me a list, and one of the beers sounded really cool, and I'm reading it, I'm learning, oh, I'm gonna get this one. So I started looking for it. It's not there. Doesn't exist. So I write back to the AI. I say, can you look at that picture again and find this, beer that you recommended? Is it actually there? Or did you hallucinate that? And it wrote back, oh no, totally sorry, hallucinated that.
wow,
So
that's
like you
that's
can't
freaky.
you can't like lawyers are going into court and they're presenting briefs that have AI have been using AI, and the AI has in the briefs hallucinated a whole bunch of cases that don't exist, have never existed, don't exist in any case law anywhere. So then they actually go to court, and the opposing counsel was smart and actually ran it through AI to find, do any of their case laws not exist? Turns out 12 of them didn't exist, and they got reprimanded. They're going to the bar. I mean, this is a huge thing. People are basically stopping thinking they're doing their job and presenting AI when, now this person might get debarred from that. That's nuts. How
Yeah.
hard it is to get a law degree, and you're going to lose it because you presented AI cases.
And we're talking about artificial intelligence, not Allen Iverson.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with video games is I was somebody who was very worried about my kids, but really my sons, my girls weren't interested, kind of falling
Yeah.
into like getting too into video games. And it's funny because now there's starting to be studies that show that playing video games helps you think. It helps you be more comfortable with technology. And the biggest
Yeah.
thing I see is for guy friend groups, like I don't want my 12-year-old playing video games with some 30-year-old stranger, but for like guy friend groups, especially when they go to college, that's
Yeah.
sometimes how they stay connected because they're not going to get on the phone and talk to each other, but they're going to talk back and forth. And I noticed that that's how my son's friend groups sometimes stay connected is playing video games. So I
Yeah, it's
kind of
almost
have a
like the
whole
game is a
new
medium for like connecting. It's
yeah.
almost like the game is secondary. The getting together on the group chat and everyone's talking together is like the primary thing. It's like what game they're playing is kind of secondary. But yeah, that's it's interesting you bring that up. As a surgeon, I'm sure you're aware of how many doctors play video games before they go into operating rooms because of how it increases your reflexes, it improves your. They've done multiple studies and surgeons that practice on video games right before the surgery and throughout, throughout the year. They've great increases in their actual like statistical. They found actual improved statistically provable increases in their performance in surgery through the use of video games.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it there's TV and there's YouTube. They sit there and just scroll through TikTok and YouTube and they don't do anything. It's just our mindless scrolling. Versus a video game is like interactive. It requires your brain and your eyes and your hands and the whole thing. Everything's going on together. You got to watch the screen. You got to use your hands. You got to communicate with what's happening. So it's a whole different level. If you were to scan
Hmm.
someone's brain and physical activity when they're playing a video game versus watching TV, scrolling the internet or TikTok or YouTube, I think it would be, you would find astronomical differences in brain activity and in body activity.
So, Mitch, this is something, it's in line with video games, but also in our mission to teach wellness and health. And we had this conversation, I believe, like 20 years ago, you and I did. And I guess that was when Wii was coming out. And I'm very interested in technology and video games, but adding a fitness aspect. And honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed because I already thought it would be there. Like, I kind of thought that there would be a Call of Duty treadmill game where you have to run to each site on your treadmill or you have to bike to each site. And it seems very doable to me to make real life virtual simulation video games where you have to move for it to work.
And they have that. They've got the virtual reality setups where basically there's like a ring around you, around about waist high, and you're on this kind of pad with special shoes that, as you walk on the pad, it promotes walking in the game. And then if you're in this game and someone starts, shooting you, you turn around and start running away. You actually have to physically run away from the person in virtual reality. But yeah, I think that what you're thinking about, Ty, is probably more the virtual reality kind of like in the big cities. They've got these virtual reality setups where it's what you're talking about, where you're going to walk out of there having probably run a couple miles.
It's called paintball, but whatever.
So, Mitch, it's a real thing because I mean, I feel like people who grew up playing sports, it's easier to get them to keep moving. Um,
Yeah.
and kids who don't like sports, I think they sometimes are drawn to video games and things like paintball, but it's gonna be hard to get paintball into the schools because people are worried about
No, yeah, that's
guns
a
and that
no.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But
That's a
somehow
no.
like the kids who love playing Madden or love playing the basketball game, if you could get them moving while they were doing it, that would be huge for the overall health of society in our country.
It would be, especially like you said, the kids that don't get any movement out. Luckily, growing up in Sherwood, everyone kind of gets kicked out of their house during the day here, and so, even with my kids who like to play a lot of video games, they're also, outside during the day a ton. So I think it's kind of down to the parents. Like you have to turn the internet off. Like I find the most effective thing to do rather than try to block everything or do screen time and all that is literally just go unplug the router for the day. And then like you bitch and moan, you hear a bunch of complaining for about 40 minutes and then you don't hear anything. And they're like literally out the door doing something, going finding friends, going fishing, doing stuff like that. So I feel like that's really the parents that, you got to get them out. You just have to make them leave the house.
So, Mitch, technology, where's it going? I guess I'm trying to think of the right way I want to say this, but it's not getting any better, but it's going to become more prevalent in everything that we do. Is that your feeling?
With with AI, I mean, so they used to take a lot of work to analyze data and to figure things out and to move things quickly. But now with AI, they just feed all the data in and boom, they have an answer. It's that quickly. I think I read about a woman whose daughter had some sort of immune disease that she couldn't diagnose. She'd been to doctors after doctors after doctors. And the problem was that, every doctor is a human. So they can only hold a certain amount of information in their brain at one time. They can only process a certain amount of information in their brain at one time. And it's slow. That's the way that we work. So she took all of her medical records over like 2 years searching for the problem and uploaded it to ChatGPT. And in 5 minutes, it diagnosed this girl with an autoimmune disease that could be genetically tested. They genetically tested her. It was that disease. There's a treatment for that disease, and they have an answer. So like that's amazing. That's
Absolutely.
awesome side of AI. But then the flip side of AI is these data centers where the AI is produced are usually put in very rural, very poor areas in the country, and like we're talking, it's daytime at night in your house because the lights are so bright. There's this weird smell. People have to go to the hospital because of COPD. So there's a really dark kind of like underbelly to AI that people don't want to talk about. That's like, where's the actual, processing being done? Because that processing produces a lot of gases, a lot of waste, a lot of negative stuff. And, we don't see that, but like if you actually take the time to get online and look for it, you'll see people on TikTok, really complaining about having these AI data centers anywhere near populations of humans, but they have to be near humans because that's where all the power is. And then the other side is the power. People's power bills are going up because one AI data center uses more power than every single person in the entire state of Wyoming. Like that's crazy. So, and the people are wondering, why is the energy bill going up? Because the AI data centers are just scaling, 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 and they just need infinite power. And the power companies are like, well, we could give it to these guys and charge more money, and they're going to pay it, or we could give it to the citizens, and well, they're going to have to charge them more money too. So there's definitely a negative side to AI. There's definitely positive, and there's definitely negative. That's the hardest thing about it, I think, is that, you can't be like, woohoo, all about it, or you can't crap on it either because, like that little girl is going to live now because of AI. So
So if you were gonna look, say, 10 years out and pick 1 or 2 things, what do you like, I'm thinking maybe driverless cars. What are you thinking are gonna be the biggest technology advances over the next 2 to 10 years?
I would think that it would be definitely the driverless cars, but also just like curing some major diseases like cancer, that type of stuff, just completely cured. Then the question is does it become like, is it available to everyone, or is it like, oh, it's $100,000 for the cancer cure?
So how does it
Um,
cure the cancer? By
Well, it's
finding
be
doing the
by
science?
finding the science. So, like I said, the same thing with the girl. There's so much data out there that it takes so much time for us to parse that AI is going to be able to come up. Like it's already have invented new drugs for various diseases that we had not come up with because it can process so much information at one time and so fast that we just can't comprehend. As humans, we can't comprehend it. So yeah, it's definitely gonna. I mean, some major. They've already talked about with this mRNA vaccine, the one that they had for COVID. Apparently, they have huge success using that for cancer, specific types of cancer. So, and not just like preventing you from getting it, but giving them the vaccine and actually attacking and curing the cancer. So obviously, it's in trials and stuff like that. But so yeah, the AI can be great for things like that, but it can also destroy the environment and raise our energy prices and other stuff like that. So
Wow. Um,
it's the flip side.
have either
But
of you guys used the driverless car technology?
yeah, I have.
Uh-huh.
Me
I have, yeah.
Okay. And
It's
you liked
I
it?
stopped using it. Well,
Yeah.
I when I first got my Tesla, I actually had the full self-driving auto package because they give it to you free for a month. So I tried it for the month. A little sketchy, you want to keep your hand on the wheel. I find it's best on the highway. So when you're going long distances on the highway, you set that thing on and it just drives you. So
Wow.
that's really the only place that I ever use it. So I stopped using the full self-driving, but the Tesla comes with just like a kind of a basic auto drive, which is perfect for the highway. It just basically keeps you at a specific speed, keeps you specific distance from the car ahead of you, and turns the car for the banks and stuff like that. So if you're driving, like example, I'll get on Route 50 and I'll activate it, and then I'll turn it off as I'm getting off Landover Road. So it'll drive the entire way there.
So I think the Teslas are an interesting commentary on technology because it's my understanding that a Tesla from birth to when you stop driving it actually is worse for the environment than a Ford F-150 because of how much it takes to build the Tesla. But the idea is as the battery technology advances, it will be far better for the environment someday. So that's why you don't want everybody having a Tesla. It's like you want a certain amount of the population having an electric car. But ultimately, at this point, it would be worse for the environment if everybody was driving an electric car. And we also have the problem of how the people who mine the cobalt are treated. So
Well,
it's
yeah, and
like the
there's always
pluses
that.
and minuses of everything.
Like you know, the reason we have these massive Ford 150s now is, and this is funny to delve slightly into politics, but liberal politics created all these gasoline environmental laws, and they tied basically the size of the vehicle to the efficiency of the vehicle. Right, and in their brain, they were going to basically make the cars more efficient. Right, that's what these laws were going to force the manufacturers to do. But the manufacturers realized they could just build bigger cars, and they wouldn't have to make them more efficient. So the unintended consequences of this like environmental law that they were trying to make Fords and all these other big cars more efficient was that they didn't write the law correctly. They didn't think it through. They didn't think of the unintended consequences. And that's why now if you look at like a Ford 150 from the 90s versus a Ford 150 from 2025, the difference is like, I mean, it's like the front end of the car is like 3.5, 4 feet higher than the one from the 90s. So it's all just based on a, an environmental law. I thought that was that to me, that's also with AI, the unintended consequences. Like there's positive unintended consequences and there's negative, but like we don't know what they're going to be until we've been dealing with it. I know with the kids alone, like I worry my kids, are they doing their homework? Are they capable of doing it? So the schools are kind of on this. Like they're using pen and paper again. They've banned the cell phones all day long in school. If you get called on your cell phone at school, it's like instant demerit. If it happens again, you have detention. They're taking cell phones from people. I think the state of California banned cell phones in schools for the entire state. So, that's definitely positive. I think we need to get more, back to that, like the ability to write down on pen and paper and use your own thoughts on pen and paper. Yes, you can use a computer, but can you actually do it in real time? Like on a test, the SATs, stuff like that. So,
think the takeaway is that, like everything, there's pluses and minuses, but tech doesn't have to be scary. You got to jump into it, and
yeah,
it's just trial and error. I think that's a
yeah.
takeaway from everything from today.
Like if people could just try and fix it first, reboot their phone, reboot their computer, Google it, try a couple things that they see on Google, stuff like that. You'd be surprised how many. I mean, I'd say 8 out of 10 times is something very basic.
So to bring it back is that humans have been dealing with advancing technology forever, and there's always been good with it, and you always have to be aware of the bad. So when you institute the technology, you have to study it and see what the bad consequences are. One of my favorite Chinese proverbs is do not be the monkey who saves the fish from drowning by putting it safely up a tree. So you're trying to do the right thing. You're bringing in all this technology. Just make sure you're not hurting too many people when you do it. And then my other comment I'm going to make is I have always been confident when the Terminators come and it's me and John Connor in a bunker that when they do a reboot or an update, all those computers are going down. And that's when we make our move. And that's
Yeah.
why
Also,
humans will
they're going to
survive
ask
because we
you.
don't need a reboot.
All right, well, we'll sleep well with that.
They're going to
Mitch,
say, "Did you say thank you?" All right. That funny thing when you use AI, do you actually say thank you to the AI? And the meme is that when the Terminators come, they're going one by one, and they're like, "Nope, he's fine. He said thank you.
there
Go
you
to the
go.
next one."
Good to know.
So,
Mitch, this has been great. Very enlightening and insightful. I
thanks,
appreciate it.
guys. I
It
really
was fun.
appreciate.
Great, Mitch. Thanks, bud. I'm
All
glad
right,
you were
see you
able to
guys.
log in.